All right, we're live. Thank you, Facebook. Let me just check, make sure my tech is all good and it's doing what it's supposed to do. Hey guys, thank you for joining me today. This is part two. Hopefully, you caught my live yesterday. I know there were a lot of people who reached out to me after that live stream yesterday, and it was powerful and it was impactful, and I dropped some really good nuggets. So I hope that you were able to check that out. I am checking on my phone on Facebook because, I just want to make sure that it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. Come on, catch up, catch up, catch up. Why is it not showing me? Okay, Facebook is always like a beat behind. Um, mm, okay, I am going to assume that I'm live. If you're there, comment. Just tell me that we're live because for some reason I'm not seeing it on my phone, but um okay. All right, there we go. Beautiful. Hey, hey, hey. So, this is part two. This is part two of my three-part series that I am doing on crushing your media interview. So, we're really talking about the power of preparation and why you don't want to leave your interviews to chance, because I see this so, so, so often. Again, I did part one yesterday. So if you have not seen it, please go back and watch it. I got so many great comments from people who were saying that it helped them tremendously. There were so many things about media interviews that they just didn't know, didn't even think about. Um, why am I talking about this? If you don't know who I am, maybe you just stumbled across this page. I'm Stacia Crawford, a two-time Emmy Award-winning TV producer, and I work as a PR and media strategist to help people get booked on television, radio, podcasts, get interviewed in magazines, and speak on the right stages and platforms so that they can share their message with the world. Again, this is part two. This series is to help you smash your media goals this year. So this is not just about getting booked. That is important, right? The first step is get me on the platform, get me on the stage. But the most important part is delivering a successful interview. So whether it's a television interview, a radio interview, maybe you're doing a podcast or being interviewed for a newspaper or a magazine, it all counts. It all matters. And so maybe you didn't know, but most interviews fail before they even start. They fail before they even start. And look, I have seen this. I've been in television for over 35 years. And I remember several times when I would book a guest and before they even got on, it was like, when somebody is really prepared. And that goes all the way to understanding what their purpose is for even being in the media. And my associate producer and I, sometimes we would have a conversation and we'd be like, you know what? I don't think we're going to have them back. Right? Because the key is really in the preparation. And that goes from the pitch all the way to after the interview. So if a guest is not properly prepared and you are not showing up in your full power without a plan, it's like going to war without your armor. Literally, like this is what keeps you alive. This is what keeps your name out there, what keeps your face out there. So if you're not setting yourself up for success, you're preparing for a disaster. You've heard the quote, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So today I'm going to be sharing really why preparation is your secret weapon to unforgettable interviews. And I specifically use the word unforgettable because when you walk off that set, once your interview is done, you don't want people to just wait for the next thing. You want to be so unforgettable that they're going straight to your website. They're picking up their phone. This is the age we live in. We live in an age where we always have our phones at our fingertips, right? And even I do it when I'm watching TV and I see something really impactful. I'm immediately going to go to their website. I'm Googling, I'm searching, I'm researching. And that is what you want. You want to be that unforgettable. You don't want them to just be like, okay, that was nice. Now, next. So, we talked a little bit about specific strategies that you can use to prepare if you suffer from stage fright or you think that being in a live setting in front of a public audience is just too scary for you. So definitely go back and watch that because it was fire. So I'm doing these live streams because I'm really talking about what is working now. So, as a working journalist, I'm inside these newsrooms. I'm talking with my colleagues from stations all over the country, magazines all over the country, right? And really getting an understanding for what is working now. So, there are some shifts that are happening in the media. The stuff that's happening in front of the camera, you can see new faces, all this kind of stuff. But the stuff that's happening behind the scenes is really what is going to create those opportunities for you to get featured, for you to get chosen. And so, this is why I'm talking about what's happening now. I'm literally giving you the tools that you need. So, just to let you know, this is just a quick live stream, but I am going to be doing a masterclass on Thursday where we are going to go a lot deeper in this work. Um, and this is because I see so many people who are brilliant and who have growing businesses, who have written books. They have these phenomenal concepts and ideas and messages, and they're not getting the traction that they deserve because they're not taking advantage of media opportunities. Or they're doing media, but they're not seeing the results on the back end. That is what's key, right? I ask them all the time, oh, yeah, so you're doing media, you know, what is the percentage of income or revenue that you're seeing from your media interviews? And they look at me like a deer in the headlights, like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Your interviews should be leading you to revenue. If you can't, write a direct line from your media to your money, something is wrong. There is a gap there. And so we need to talk. We're talking about all of this in the masterclass on Thursday. So please, 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 if this is something that you really want to use to leverage your media to grow your business this year, there are so many opportunities that are right in front of you that you may be missing out on, and strategies for leveraging it. So Thursday, 6 o'clock, we're going to be doing a masterclass. Just simply comment masterclass below. And then I'll reach out to you after this live stream. It's coming up in 2 days and it is going to literally change your business. I'm telling you. So let me go back. Let's jump in. And really, we're talking about why preparation is key when you are taking advantage of media. So I'm going to give you a quick story, really just to highlight the importance of preparation. Now, I had a client who recently had a big media interview, right? Major news outlet. She was so excited. And she was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm like, okay, well, let's, do our media training. And she's like, what do you mean? I mean, they're going to ask me some questions. I'm going to answer them. I'm just going to wing it, as she put it. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. That's not what we do over here. That's not what we do. It's not a matter of them asking questions and you answering them. It sounds really simple, but I guarantee you, let's do this training and you'll see why. And then when we did the media training, after talking about her talking points, her core messaging, and really understanding the audience and the audience's needs, she went on the air and she nailed that interview. She absolutely nailed it. And how do you know that? Because when I look at what happened afterwards, she followed the strategy. And within 2 hours of her live interview, she had people going to her website. She was getting emails. She had people calling her. She had a boatload of new leads. So can media develop new leads for you? Abso-freaking-lutely. And she actually was able to gain some new 5-figure clients. Yes, $25,000 deals. So I want you to imagine, what would that feel like? You doing an interview, doing a media interview, and within hours, you have $25,000 showing up in your bank account from one interview. Now, part of that prep included researching the host who was actually going to be interviewing her for this interview. Easy stuff, right? But because we were able to understand the host, understand the audience, and really honing in on who her ideal client was, we were able to find the intersection of those three. He was a very gracious host. He was very engaged, incredibly interested in the topic himself. And so the interview actually ended up going a little longer than he had set aside for it because he was just that into it. That was not a mistake. That was intentional on my part, right? He even had another show, a guest on the show, and she went, he went a little long with my client. So the other one had to cut her interview down a little bit because my client was so engaged and so passionate about her topic and her subject, and just so clear in answering the questions. He invited her to come back again on the show. Right before she even left the studio, she had another invitation in her hand, another date on the calendar. That's what I'm talking about. This is how you show up consistently in the media. That does not happen by accident. It comes from preparation and strategy. So preparation matters because now those journalists, when you show up, they expect you to be polished and precise. Everybody says, "Oh, I want to be on the Today Show. I want to be on Good Morning America." Well, they're not plopping you off the street and sitting you on the set of Good Morning America. They have high expectations, right? So they don't have time for you to be rambling and searching for answers and being vague. The more prepared you are, the more professional you appear. And what does that do? That increases your chances of being invited back. So people often ask me, well, why is it every time they talk about health, are these the same people? Or when they talk about legal matters, I see the same people. Or when they talk about this and that, this is why. Because those people are prepared and they're polished. And this is how they get invited back again and again. So let me ask you, have you ever gone into an interview without preparing? Have you ever just said, "Oh, well, this is my topic. I know this like the back of my hand. I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to wing it." I would be curious to know, how did it go? And I would even quantify that by not just how did it feel, because sometimes people will say, "Oh, that interview felt great." But what did it do for you? That's the real gauge of how successful it was, right? If you walked off a TV set and you didn't have, your phone blowing up or your website blowing up and money ding, ding, ding in your bank account, maybe it didn't go as well as you thought it did. So preparation is key. So let's talk about how exactly do you prepare. Now, there are literally 3 steps. It's 3 simple steps that you can start using today. You can start using for your very next interview. And it seems very simple because it is, but most people don't do it. I'm telling you, as a TV producer for over 30 years, I will tell you clearly, most people don't do it. And I can tell. And when my clients show up, and those producers always reach out to me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you trained them so well. That was awesome." They can tell the difference. And I can tell the difference. And so when you're doing media, you will begin to tell the difference. Sometimes I even have my clients go back and look at old interviews that they did before working with me. And then we look at interviews that they're doing now. And it is such a clear difference, a distinct difference. Now we know what to look for. And it's so clear, it's so obvious. So the first thing that you want to do when you're doing media, any media, whether it's television, radio, podcasts, magazines, newspapers, any media, you want to have clear talking points. So what you should do is ask yourself, number one, what are the 3 messages that I want to communicate in this interview? Because you can't go in there thinking, "Oh, I'm just a wealth of information. I have a crap load of stuff I need to say. They need to know this, and I want to tell them this, and I want," and skirt. No, we're not doing that. We want to have 3, right? What are your top 3 messages that you want to communicate? And you want to write them down and you want to practice them out loud and keep them concise. If you're answering a question and you've been talking for a minute or 2 minutes, no, we don't do that over here. We speak in sound bites. Okay. So when you practice out loud, this also ensures that you stay focused and that you deliver your message clearly. Because how it sounds in your head is not always how it's going to sound coming out of your mouth. So we practice it, right? Write them down and practice them. Second thing that you really need to do is you've got to understand your audience. That means you need to do some research on the front end. Now, that doesn't mean that you want to research for months and months and months. Now you're just procrastinating. You're just stalling. But you do want to have a clear understanding of who your audience is. That means researching that show, researching the publication, the podcast, knowing who the host is, who their ideal client, who your ideal clients are, and who their target market is and where they intersect, right? Who are you going to be speaking to? You want to know, what do these people care about? This audience, what is important to them? And then you can tailor your message so that it's going to resonate with that audience. Now, you have to remember that it's not just about what you want to say, right? It's really about what that audience needs to hear. So we're very strategic about that. Now, I have a client she is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. She is a magician when it comes to getting scholarships for students. And she works with people everywhere, all over the country. She works with all ages, all income levels, every ethnicity. And she recently did some media with a Black media outlet. So their audience is primarily African American. So we had to target her messages for that specific audience. So we had to have specific statistics and case studies that were specific to that demographic. This is all a part of your preparation. It is so important. She could have gone in there and just given general, population statistics, but that's not what's going to resonate with this particular audience. So you have to make sure you know who you're talking to. Okay, my third tip for you is prepare your own questions. Yes, you can prepare your own questions. Now, many media outlets will actually ask you for questions. I won't say many, let's say some. Some of them will ask you for questions. They'll say, okay, you can submit 3 or 4 questions that you want them to ask. But even if they don't ask, you can prepare your own questions and submit those questions in advance, right? What do you want them to ask you? If you could craft the perfect interview, I usually say 5, but depends on how long the interview, but usually 5 ideal questions where if you couldn't say anything else, what are the top messages that you want to get out? And what are the 5 questions that they could ask that would lead you to that core message? Sounds simple, right? Yes. And then you want to rehearse the answers to those potential questions. And again, you want to do it out loud. Even think about some of the curveball questions that they might ask. There may be some controversial questions that may come up because you could easily say, well, I came here to talk about this, but they throw out a question about something else. And if you are unprepared, that is going to trip you up and it's going to F you up. Okay, it is, trust me. So even when you think about those might call stupid questions, right? Where you might be like, duh, why would you even ask me that? That's so obvious. You need to have a back pocket response. You need to be prepared for that. And the more you practice that, the more confident and the more natural you are going to feel during the interview. One of my clients had an interview this morning, and it was actually a radio interview, and her sister was listening. And her sister afterwards, she called her and she was like, oh my God, that interview was so good. And she was like, I don't know how you did. It was almost as if you knew what they were going to ask. It's like, yeah, I did, because I told them what to ask, right? So, this is all goes into preparing for those media opportunities. Take advantage of it. Now, that's not to say that they're going to ask you every question that you submit, because again, this is a conversation. It's a two-way conversation. They're asking a question and you're answering them, but it has to feel very natural. You don't want it to feel rehearsed. You don't want it to feel stagnant, right? You want it to really flow naturally. And there is a very specific way to do that. I have strategies for that. So, have you had any challenges when you've been preparing for your media opportunities? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had? Please share that with me. I would love to hear those, and then I would love to help you to prepare for your next media opportunity. Preparation is key, and I want you to be able to avoid some of those media pitfalls. What does that look like? That might be you forgetting some basic statistics, right? It might be you having some information and you're like, oh my God, it's right there on the tip of my tongue. But when that camera goes on and that microphone is in front of you, you can't quite grasp it. That's important, right? Preparation helps you cut down the chances of that happening. Another pitfall that I often see is rambling. People will ramble. This is what happens when you don't prepare. So you have to remember practicing and practicing in sound bites. So sound bites are short, impactful statements that are going to leave a lasting impression on your audience. This is what's going to stick with them. They're not going to remember everything that you say, whether it's a 10-minute interview, 20-minute interview. They're not going to remember everything. But, if you're strategic about it, you're practicing and you're speaking in sound bites, you're going to leave an impact just by what you say, but also what you don't say. And another big mistake that I see from people is they tend to either go off brand or they go off topic. You have to remember when you are booking media interviews, it's for a specific topic. It's not just to talk about everything that you want to talk about, which is another mistake that people make, right? You are being invited to talk about something very specific. And it's sometimes tempting to share too much. And when you do that, now you have that anchor or that host veering in a whole different direction. You always have to stay aligned with your core message and your core values. That's a part of staying on brand. Now, your preparation helps to keep you on track. It keeps you on time. So whether you have an interview and it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes, that's a huge difference. Believe me, a 3-minute difference in TV time is huge. I had a client who recently went on TV maybe like 2 weeks ago, and there was some breaking news that happened right before her segment. And so they did a breaking news report. And so instead of her having a 5-minute interview, she ended up having a 2-minute, 20-second interview. Now that could have thrown her totally. She could have been like, oh my God, I don't know, what to do. I have so much to say. But because we had practiced and we prepared for that, she went in there and she nailed it. She crushed that interview. All a part of the preparation. So you always want to stay on track and stay on time. And it helps you also when you're staying on brand and staying on topic, it helps you to not say things that you will regret, right? Things will slip out sometimes. You're like, well, they asked me this. So my first inclination was to say this. That will never happen with me. It won't happen because we stay on brand, we stay on topic. Yeah, and again, when those interviews, get cut short due to breaking news or whatever, sometimes the previous segment goes long. When you practice and you're prepared for that, you can still deliver your core message and never walk off a set feeling like I didn't get to say what I wanted to say. How you structure your responses is key. It is key. You can't just open your mouth and pray and hope that the right words are going to come out. Because when that happens, you leave and then nothing happens. And that's the worst thing. You've spent this time, booking this interview and it's not getting you anything. Then what are we doing? So when you are prepared, you get to handle tough questions, unexpected questions, and even technical hiccups sometimes will happen, right? It's like, okay, there may be, somebody hits a wrong button in the control room, or, maybe I've seen where a light bulb will pop during a live interview, or somebody drops something on the air. So many things can happen, but we prepare you so that even when those incidents happen, you're able to get right back on track, pick up where you left off as if nothing ever happened. It's just a bump in the road and we keep it moving. So preparation isn't just important, it is essential. It is essential. I cannot say that enough. Do not ever go into another media interview unprepared. Now, preparation is really what I think is the key to being impactful and memorable versus forgettable. And what I mean by forgettable is, yeah, you did the interview and now you're on to the next. But when you're impactful, you actually leave people feeling something. You leave them thinking something. You leave them wanting to do something. And that is how you make a difference with your interviews. Now, if you are ready to master this skill, I'm inviting you to join me for my masterclass. I mentioned I'm at the top of this live stream. It's called Be Seen on the Screen. We're specifically talking about television. However, the strategies that I'm going to be teaching in here are also good. They work for television. They work for podcasts. They even work for doing presentations. If you're someone, a professional or executive who has to do presentations at work, these strategies work. So it's going to be about 90 minutes. 60 minutes of that is just kind of the training, me mapping it out for you, handing you a roadmap so that you know where to go, where you can literally leave this masterclass and go get booked on TV and crush a media interview. It is going to be this Thursday at 6 o'clock Central. While the training itself is 60 minutes, I leave time for questions because I basically curate a space that is small and intimate because I want to be able to I want to make sure that everybody in that room leaves with something that is specific to them, right? Like I mentioned, the strategies that I'm teaching, this is what's happening now. But I want to actually go a little bit deeper and tell you exactly how this applies to you as the expert, to you as an author, to you as a thought leader. How do you use it so that you can now have a roadmap and go out and deliver incredible interviews on television? So if you're interested in being in this masterclass, and who would be crazy not to, right? You get to sit in a room with a 35-year television veteran who's going to hand you a literal roadmap to go get booked on TV and make money from your TV interviews. So if you don't want that, I don't know what you're doing. But if you do, then just comment down in the comments, masterclass, and I will reach out to you and I will get you all the details so that you can be in this room, learn how to craft messages that resonate. You can avoid some of the common pitfalls. We do a lot of do's and don'ts because I see so many people who are doing the don'ts. They are doing, and they don't even realize that they're doing it. So it's very likely that if you are doing media, it's very likely that you're making some of these common mistakes and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. I mean, so many times when I would book guests and they would do certain things and we'd be like, nope, they're never coming back again. And then they couldn't figure it out. They don't know why. Nobody's responding to their pitches, responding to their emails, responding to their phone calls because they're doing these things. We're going to tell you how to avoid those. And most importantly, we're going to talk about how to leverage those media opportunities so that you can get real results. Because you can be on TV just for the sake of being on TV. Whoopee, that's great. But when you can be on TV and say, hey, I made $25,000 today from a media appearance that I did this morning, that is real results. We want tangible results. So if that's what you want, please comment masterclass below and I will send you the details. I just implore you not to miss this chance, right? Not only to book interviews, but to transform your interviews and literally transform your business. So get in there. Just comment masterclass. All right. Okay, guys, I'm going to let you go. Part 3 tomorrow, and it's going to be so good. I've already started preparing it because what do? Preparation is key. We know that. So tomorrow I'll see you same time tomorrow and the masterclass on Thursday. All right. Have a great one. Bye.